basically, we are working on secure bootstrapping of IoT devices in IoT world. Now, uh, we have studied lot of methods which are used currently for bootstrapping. This is mostly like a survey paper, and then we have also mentioned one of our methods that we are working upon. It is not complete. We are still in the formal modeling of security for this, working on that. So before we start with this secure bootstrapping, I would like to go up to IoT. So what is IoT? So now we have been living in a connected world. So we have a smartwatch which can connect to our mobile through Bluetooth. We can get notification, we can make calls. Even some smartwatches have camera also, so we can take pictures also. Now, second thing is we have Fitbit. Now, using Fitbit, we can it also connects to the mobile through Bluetooth, and all our health monitoring data like heart rate or sleeping pattern or our exercise schedule, everything can go up to Google Fit in the internet. Then we have camera. Now we will think that how is camera connected? No, camera is not directly connected, but take the SD card, put it in a computer, and you can upload all your photos to Google Photo, and it is online. And similarly, barcode scanner is there, which can be used to scan the code and give information about the what is related to that code. So we always have been in a connected world. Now, second part is web connected things. So where there are many connected devices which we can access through web, that is through typing an URL, HTTP or HTTPS, and access the device. So like we have now a smart refrigerators are there, CCTVs are there, and access control systems are there which are connected through website. Now third category is Internet of Things. So first we saw that there are some devices which are connected through not through internet directly, but their data may go to the internet. They do not have an IP address. Second thing is web connected, where there is an IP address, but the only way of accessing is directly through HTTP from human to that machine. Now third thing is communication between a machine to machine, from a thing to thing. That is Internet of Things. So this term was coined by Kevin Estin in 1999. He was working as a assistant brand manager at Procter & Gamble. In 1997, he started using RFID for supply chain management of Procter & Gamble. So he introduced that one thing can talk to thing instead of only human to device interaction. And the best example is in your car, the climate control. So where there is a thermostat which sends the temperature, sends the information to your AC unit, and AC unit, as per the temperature condition, it will change its fan speed or control the temperature. One example which is there in Belgrade, Siberia is EcoBus. This actually Serbia is fighting with pollution. So to counter the pollution, what they have used is they have used one sensor. Basically, it's a collection of sensors, put it in a box, and this is called EcoBus. And this has been mounted on all the buses which are running in the city of Belgrade. And these are giving the data regarding the location of the bus, GPS, humidity, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide. So all this data collectively goes to the data center where these data are analyzed. Now public may also use this data for only locating the bus. Now we all know about Amazon Alexa. So Amazon Alexa is basically a cloud-based service. It came with this EcoDot series of speakers where we can give voice commands to access anything like any smart home appliances. We can ask for playing music, we can ask how is the weather, we can ask how are you Alexa, that's all. So similarly, Google also launched their Google Home smart series of speakers, through which Google Assistant is there to whom we can issue commands, and it will answer to all our queries. Apart from whatever tasks Alexa was performing, like controlling your smart home equipment, so it can dim your light, it can switch on your fan, it can switch on your television, it can run your vacuum cleaner, it can close your door, it can open your door. All those things are possible. So this is one joke on Amazon Alexa which was floating on its uses. So basically it tells that it's so easy that even a parrot can use Alexa for running your smart home. Okay, so with IoT we have so much of convenience, but our risk has also increased. So what are the reasons is, like, we want everything to be like controlled by a software. But if we want everything to be a computer, so whatever vulnerabilities are there in a computer, that will also come with that as a package. So second thing is interconnection. So in an interconnected environment, even if your device is secure, but another device on the network is insecure or vulnerable, so if anybody accesses that insecure system, he may also have access to your system. So interconnection, good example was ransomware. So it was flowing on the network, and even if your system was secure but another system was insecure, it could access your system. So today every computer is connected to one another computer. So you can think that if n computers are connected to n minus 1 other system, so almost n into n minus 1 by 2 will be total number of interconnections, and thus total number of basically the vulnerability points. So we have to secure each and every vulnerability point. Third thing is, we want autonomous systems. So we want that my car should be driven by itself. Nobody should drive the car. Our computer should buy stocks, sell stocks, depending on what are the scenarios. Even our power grid is a smart, that it depending on the load requirement, it will switch on the power requirements and change the load. It will do the load setting. So, but if an attack happens and there is no manual intervention, so that attack will also go autonomically and ubiquitously without any resistance. Now I will go back to this EcoBus. So EcoBus, what we were saying is that there are sensors. Now if we allow people to access the sensors for all the data, so how can we allow? So first thing is, we should authenticate people, whether someone is a genuine person to access my device. And second thing is authorization. So authorization is like a person who is in the bus, he has a pacemaker. So he can access the pollution data and make sure that he doesn't go in an area where there is a lot of pollution, so that his health is affected. But can he make changes in the data that is flowing? No, he should not be able to change the data. So authentication and authorization is very necessary. Now we'll come back to bootstrapping problem. So basically, in the manual bootstrapping, the steps are that discovery. So we connect a device to the network. The device connects to the network and gets some IP address through DHCP. And then after that, it registers to a registering authority. So like in many centers, we have one portal. So like Wi-Fi. In this hotel itself, if Wi-Fi is there, we may connect to the network, but unless we authenticate ourselves using our username password, we may not be able to use that. So that registration step is required. And then key setup is for creating the key pair for a secure communication between two devices. And finally, the configuration of the device for whatever means that device is being used for, that configuration is required. So for CCTV, whatever configuration you want to do with that CCTV, that. Now the question is, can we automate this process? And we have already seen the problems with automations. So without compromising on the security side, can we automate this process? So let us auto add. So we want to add the device into the network and let it bootstrap itself. But the question is, there are millions of networks, and then there are similarly there are billions of devices. So how does a device that is connected to a network identify that I am connected to the right network, not to a some phishing network or some other network? And similarly, in our network, if a device is connected, how can I make sure that this device is mine, first of all, and second thing is, it is not compromised? So both way we have to authenticate. Now there have been some prior approaches, like one is TOFU, trust on first use. So it says that first time we'll store one public key and credential, and that first time we will trust whatever credential has been installed, and all subsequent communication will happen based on that credential. Second thing is resurrecting duckling. So ducklings, there is one phenomenon called imprinting. So imprinting is a duck, when a duckling comes alive, so it considers its mother as the first thing which it sees, which is moving and making sound. So if a duckling sees me, I am moving and I am making sound, so it will consider me as their mother. You would have seen many, you just Google on imprinting in duckling in Google Images, and you will see so many images where some person is going and behind them lot of ducklings are running. So same way here also, what we say that when a device is connected to the network, so whoever first sends the key to the device, first key, they will trust that key and say that we are loyal to you till that device is reset or that goes out of order. Now then there is enrollment over secure transport EST. Now EST says that it's a normal client server application where client and server authenticate themselves, and then whatever client has issued the request, that request will be served by the server. Only thing is it requires a pre-established HTTPS session. It considered that you have to establish that, and then we will start the enrollment. Then there is the method of bootstrapping remote key infrastructure, which is still in the draft phase. So what is this based on? It is you would have used Netflix or Amazon Prime. So how does that work? So we log into Netflix or Amazon Prime. So we give our username and password. It connects to the backend server and authenticate whether this user is really some subscription or not. If the subscription is valid, then only the content will be accessible by that person. Now same thing, what happens here is that, leave the method, I will explain. So what happens that once a device is connected to a network, now that device will send one request to MASA. MASA is a manufacturer association. They run one online service through which they identify that they have created this device, some device. So what happens that the device will send one request through the registrar of that domain where it is getting registered to MASA, and MASA will tell one message to registrar that yes, this is a device, this is genuine device, we have created this device. And second thing, it will tell the place that yeah, this registrar is your owner, so you can register with this owner. So some process is there through a voucher request and response, but this is the gist. Now we saw, I think after lunch there was one talk by Mr. Mohit. So Mr. Mohit is working on EAP-Noob. So basically EAP is a authentication framework, and in that he has added one noob, Nimble out of band. So what happens that once a device is there and that device is connected to the network, once this device is connected to the network, it will establish some key with the registrar. Some key it will establish. Now after that, that same key, a person will scan. So like if it is a TV, some television, then on this television what will happen that one QR code will appear which will have the key. So we will scan that QR code, and then using that QR code we will give it to the our cloud server for authentication. So basically one manual intervention is required. It is not fully automatic. For each device a manual intervention is required to pass on that key established in the EC elliptical curve Diffie-Hellman algorithm to the server. So now that's why this is not scalable. For consumers it is fine, but at industrial level where thousands of devices are being bought and deployed, it cannot work. Now what we are working is that so we have a concept of invoice. Fine. So whenever we buy some product, we get an invoice, and that invoice works as authorization that yeah, I am the authorized user of that device. So I own that device. So whenever I have some warranty requirement, I will go and produce that invoice to the OEM and say that this is my device, it is not working, you service. So that device, that invoice acts as a ownership data. So same way here also what I am saying, what we are proposing is that one digital invoice which is digitally signed by the manufacturer can be embedded in the device, and that digital invoice the device can present to the registrar, and registrar can simply verify the digital signature of the manufacturer that yeah, this is the verified digital signature of the manufacturer. It means this device has come from a known manufacturer. And similarly, if you see in the digital invoice, we have also embedded the public key of the registrar. So the registrar or whoever is the owner, we have included their public key. So after the registrar verifies the digital invoice, he will send one acceptance note that okay, we are accepting you as our device, and that will be a signed acceptance note. And that signed acceptance note, he can verify, the device can verify the signature on that signed acceptance note using the public key which is already there in the digital invoice. So in this way, we can ensure that both authenticate each other. Okay, so I will conclude this. So basically we saw some of the methods, and tofu, it's fine, but still first time whatever identity we are giving, that it is accepting, so it is not good. Resurrecting duckling, whoever sends the first key, even if it is a nefarious network, it will accept, so that is also not good. Then EST, it requires a pre-established session which is a constraint for EST. Brewski is fine, but only thing is it requires one online service. So it's like Netflix. If internet is not there, I cannot use Netflix. But if I have a DVD, even if Netflix is not there, I can watch this. Even if my subscription is ended, I can watch that. So here MASA is the bottleneck, that if it is online, so it's fine. Otherwise, we cannot use that. And finally, our proposal. Okay, EPNOOB, it's not scalable because for every registration we require one manual intervention for passing on the key from the device to the cloud server. Finally, our method, as I understand, this is no online requirement is there. Both device and client can authenticate itself. Only thing is we are working on the security, formal modeling of the security, still working on that. Thank you.